What is up, fellas? We are back for another UFC predictions video. This time for UFC Fight Night, Mexico City, Moreno versus Erceg. Quick apologies if I look like a homeless guy lurking outside of your local Circle K, but I have felt like absolute shit for like the last 5 days. So that's why this video is coming out a day late. Typically, I upload these on Tuesday. If you're new, subscribe. Appreciate it. We're almost at 120. Uh, it's free. Do it. Thank you. Let's jump right into the card. Let's get this over with because I feel terrible. Kicking us off at lightweight, Austin Hubbard taking on Markel Medeiros. Guys, I think I'm going to be going with Markel Medeiros. I just think he's a better technician on the feet than an Austin Hubbard. Austin Hubbard's a guy who is very tough, very durable, a guy who can push a hard 3 rounds. And maybe that's something that comes into play here at Mexico City. They are at about 7,000 feet of elevation. I'm going to be talking about elevation a lot, just like anybody who's probably breaking this down. But Austin Hubbard's a guy who can fight a hard 3 rounds, pretty durable, not outwardly super skilled at any discipline. He's pretty decent on the feet. And the grappling, nothing special. I don't really suspect he's going to be shooting takedowns on Markel Medeiros or anything like that. And if he does, I feel like that could zap the gas tank because that's not something typically he uses in his game all that much. And I just think Markel Medeiros is a much cleaner striker on the feet, and he'll be able to land his shots more consistently on an Austin Hubbard. Um, I could see a Hubbard upset maybe as the fight gets a little bit deeper. Madero starts to slow down and Hubbard starts to outdog him in the later rounds. That could happen. And at plus 160, I don't mind it. But I think the pick here has got to be Markel Medeiros here. I just think he's way better on the feet. I think he can catch Hubbard with big shots early and hurt him early, honestly. And I also don't love his 2 losses. Like, I don't love getting out grappled by Kurt Holobaugh. I know Kurt Holobaugh has a good submission system, but I don't love it. Um, Beat Michael Figlak in a pretty close fight, which is a decent win. And then lost to Alexander Hernandez in a split. I think Markel Medeiros is at the level of like Alexander Hernandez. I think he can get this. I think he can get this fight done. I think he can probably win a decision here. I also think he's live for a TKO, even though Austin Hubbard is very durable. I can see him kind of getting one of those TKOs where maybe he hurts Hubbard. Hubbard like is leaned up against the cage and he just lands a bunch of shots while Hubbard's still standing up against the cage and the ref just steps in and stops it. That's kind of how I feel. Like I don't feel like he can KO Hubbard cold, but I think he can get a TKO up against the cage. Moving up to featherweight, Jamal Emmers taking on Gabriel Miranda. I'm not gonna look at the line here. I caught a glimpse of it there for a second. This fight, I feel like, is kind of, I don't want to say 50-50 because I think Jamal Emmers wins. Um, but I could see Jamal Emmers getting caught in kind of a stupid exchange in the grappling where Gabriel Miranda latches up a sub. I think that's possible here. I think it's live here, but I think more times out of 10, if these guys fight 10 times, I think Jamal Emmers just beats the shit out of him on the feet. Jamal Emmers is a really rangy, good kickboxer, really nice hands, really good timing on his shots, and he's got great power as well. And Gabriel Miranda, he's kind of a brawler on the feet. He kind of just he engages, he crashes in and he engages, which could present problems for Jamal Emmers, but I don't see his durability holding up Gabriel Miranda to a big shot from Jamal Emmers. Like Gabriel Miranda's 2 losses in the UFC, he's he's been KO'd. He took an absolute licking off of Benoit Saint Denis, got absolutely battered, subbed Shane Young, okay, and then brutally KO'd by Morgan Charrier. I just think Jamal Emmers is a guy who can kind of crack at a similar level to these guys. When we look, he's a very 50-50 fighter, Jamal Emmers, but when we look at these, he lost to Pat Sabatini by heel hook. Maybe that's something Gabriel Miranda could employ, that submission game, and get himself this win. But I think Pat Sabatini's a much better wrestler than a Gabriel Miranda. I also think he's a better submission artist than a Gabriel Miranda. I think Pat Sabatini is very good on the ground, so I don't mind a loss to him all that much. Fucking beat Kushin Ashkabov, 23-0 guy, kind of a fraud check to be honest. Um, his record was super padded, but it's a good win to have. It looks really good when you're looking at his fucking resume. Jack Jenkins split decision. He should have beat Jack Jenkins. As somebody who picked Jack Jenkins in that fight, he probably should have beat Jack Jenkins, which is a good fucking win to have, and he should have it. Flatline Dennis Bazooka really fucking easily, um, and lost to Nate Landwehr. And Nate Landwehr didn't look great in his last fight against Doo Ho Choi. And Jamal Emmers cracked Nate Landwehr bad early, but he just kind of got outdogged. I don't think Gabriel Miranda outdogs Jamal Emmers here. I think if Miranda gets cracked, I don't think he recovers like a Nate Landwehr. Nate Landwehr's kind of a guy where if you crack him bad and hurt him, if you don't flatline him with that shot, he's, I don't know, you awaken some kind of southern demon in him. He comes back like a zombie. I just think Jamal Emmers is way better on the feet. What's the line here? Minus 220. Yeah, I kind of see it. Both guys are 35. Yeah, I just think Jamal Emmers is way more lethal. I think he's way more dangerous in the stand-up, and I don't know if Gabriel Miranda really has the wrestling acumen to get a Jamal Emmers to the ground. Now, maybe I could see a situation where Jamal Emmers cracks him, drops Gabriel Miranda, falls into his guard, and ends up getting submitted like a moron. But I'm gonna trust that that is a low percent chance scenario, and that doesn't happen. I could just see Jamal Emmers cracking him on the feet and dropping him badly, and finishing him. That's kind of how I see this one going out. I do think Gabriel Miranda has some tricky jujitsu. He's live for his sub, maybe as like a little. It's not betting advice, but I think it could happen. Could happen. It's not impossible, but I think more often than not, Jamal Emmers gets this win here, probably by TKO. Moving up to lightweight, Rafa Garcia taking on Vince Pichel. Guys, I'm going with Rafa Garcia. I'm not. Oh, minus 500, huh? Rafa Garcia minus 500. That's interesting. But yeah, I'm going with Rafa Garcia. He's just a younger guy, basically. Vince Pichel back in the day was actually a pretty good fighter, but recently he's looked a little bit washed. He had a huge layoff here. He lost to Mark Madsen. I hate that. I think Mark Madsen was always fucking terrible, so I don't love a loss to him. And then, hasn't fought in almost 11 months. Lost to Ishmael Bonfim. Don't I don't think Ishmael Bonfim is that great as a prospect, but he's decent. You know what I mean? So, and it's a tough fight to come back on as an old man, but he looked a little washed against Ishmael. The durability is still there. Like he's infinitely durable. It's just he looks a step slower than he used to. You know what I mean? And Rafa Garcia is kind of a guy who is he's a guy who just puts out an insane amount of output to be scored. And I think he can catch Vince Pichel kind of looking a little bit slower with his reactions, a little bit weaker with his grappling defense. Rafa Garcia can mix it up well. He's got nice stand up. He's got nice grappling. He lost his last fight, but that's Grant Dawson. He got out grappled. Grant Dawson's really, really elite on the ground. Clay Guida, don't really care. Maha Shade's a decent win, and then lost to Drakkar Close. Like these are okay losses to have against decent level guys. Like I would pick Grant Dawson and Drakkar Close to beat Vince Pichel pretty handedly. At this point in his career, I just think Rafa Garcia, he's the younger guy. He's going to put out a lot more output, especially at elevation. I trust him to kind of beat, a washed Vince Pichel. He's 42, man. He's 42 at lightweight. Like the durability's still there. He's still a dog, but he just looks a little bit he looked a little bit washed in his last fight. And I guess a guy who's going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at him for 3 rounds hard. I just think Rafa Garcia gets a decision here. Maybe like 29-28. Maybe Vince Pichel works the low kicks a little bit or something like that. I don't think it'll work. I don't think it'll be that effective, but maybe he gets around. Maybe these rounds are close. Could be. I think this line is stupid, though. This line is insane. Rafa Garcia shouldn't be minus 500 over any UFC fighter, in my opinion. Even a washed version of Vince Pichel. Just because Vince Pichel, he used to be pretty fucking good, and he's still decent, man. Moving up to women's strawweight, Julia Palastri is taking on Lupita Godinez. Guys, I'm going with Lupita Godinez here, even though she's lost her last 2 in a row. Verna Jandiroba, wildly close fight. Insanely close fight. And then Mackenzie Dern. These are two ladies who are levels above Julia Palastri, in my opinion. I just don't think Palastri's that great. A split decision over Corey McKenna. Give me a fucking break, you guys, please. Josephine Knudsen beat her. Knudsen kind of has been fraud checked out of the UFC, so don't love that. And then, we're looking at the contender series at this point, then the regional scene at LFA. And LFA is like decent comp, but like, I mean, we're getting wins over Tabitha Ricci, Elise Reed, but we're subbing her. Emily Ducote, not a great win. But I just think Lupita Godinez is the better fighter here. She's a bit silly sometimes with her decision making and certain grappling exchanges. But I mean, as far as skill for skill goes, she's got very good wrestling. Her boxing's been coming along. She's got good grappling defense. I really just see her schooling Julia Pilastri uh, over 3 rounds. Like, I feel like if you're not like ranked, you don't beat Lupi Godinez. You know what I mean? And I don't think Julia Pilastri's on that level. This line's closer than I thought it would be. Honestly, I thought Godinez would be like a minus 225, something like that, maybe. Pilastri's all right, but I just think Lupi Godinez has such a well-rounded game. As long as she doesn't make some insanely stupid mistake, I think she wins this fight pretty clearly on the scorecards. I'm gonna go with Lupi Godinez winning a decision. Probably, I could I could see 30-27, honestly. Or 29-28 if she does something really dumb. Which can happen. She's not the smartest fighter. She's very talented. She's just a little bit stupid sometimes. Oh boy. Moving up to featherweight. Melquizel Costa taking on Christian Rodriguez. Guys, disclaimer alert. Disclaimer alert. I am bad at picking Christian Rodriguez fights. All right. Mm. There's 2 fights on this card that I can't really get a read on. This is one of them because Christian Rodriguez is good until he fights somebody who's not that good. You know what I mean? Um, like we can beat all of these great prospects. Raul Rosas Jr. I picked him to beat Raul Rosas. To be fair, Cameron Simon. I thought Cameron Simon would beat him, but Christian Rodriguez. We missed weight for that one, baby, and we bullied a guy 20 pounds lighter than us. Let's go. Isaac Dolgarian, he should have lost to. Then he loses to fucking bum ass stinky Julian Erosa. I don't love, I don't love a guy sticking his head into a guillotine against Julian Erosa. I don't love it at all. I think that's a terrible look. But then he beats Austin Bashi, who I think Austin Bashi is really good, dude. Melquizel Costa's coming off of a win over Andre Feely. Good win. Subbed him up. Nurdi Mbeke, good win. Subbed him up. Steve Garcia lost. That happens. Thiago Moises in his debut. You know what I mean? Like, that's a ranked lightweight he's fighting at the time, I'm pretty sure. Hmm. And I don't think Melquizel Costa is really the guy who's going to be like this super heavy wrestling game plan that Christian Rodriguez is used to facing, and he's used to fraud checking a lot of these guys who are like heavy grapplers, like offensively with their takedowns, like Raul Rosas, like Isaac Dolgarian, like Austin Bashi. Melquizel's a guy who kind of plays that kickboxing game a little bit, and he's got nasty submissions, and a guy with a nice guillotine like Melky. Um, I've seen Christian Rodriguez stuff his stupid pea head into those. So I kind of want to go with Melquizel Costa. Is he an underdog? Plus 140 almost. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, dude, I'm so bad at picking Christian Rodriguez fights. Um, I'm this is at featherweight too. I think Christian Rodriguez is better when he's missing weight and bullying bantamweight fighters. To be honest, I think he's a lot better when he's doing that. Um, So I'm gonna go with Melquizel Costa. Honestly, I think his stand-up game is a little bit better. I think he's got a little bit more sting on his strikes than Christian Rodriguez. Christian Rodriguez has good kickboxing, but it doesn't seem like he has very much power at all. He's got great wrestling defense. He's got all right submission defense unless he's fighting Julian Erosa. I'm gonna go with Melquizel Costa. Honestly, he's got a nice submission game. He's been in the UFC. He's fought good fighters. He's fighting ranked lightweights in his UFC debut. Like he's fighting at lightweight. Christian Rodriguez had to move up to featherweight because he was missing way too much at bantamweight. You know what I mean? This guy's fighting a ranked lightweight. Austin Lingo's a decent win. Not really, but And Steve Garcia, I mean, beat him. And since then, he's on a 2-fight win streak against pretty tough guys. Like Shaylin Nurdi Mbeke is a fucking motherfucker for the first couple of rounds. And Andre Feely's a dangerous guy on the feet, man. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Melquizel Costa as like a plus 140. Who are people picking? Everybody's picking Rodriguez basically. I understand it. I just think styles make fights, and I think Melquiz Costa's got a style similar to a Julian Erosa, more so than like these guys who are super wrestling heavy and want to get you to the mat and beat you that way. Like Melquiz can fight a three hard rounds, decent kickboxing, decent striking, nice submissions. Pretty spurgy guy as well on the feet, kind of like a Julian Erosa. So I could kind of see a similar thing happening here. Maybe Christian Rodriguez is having a hard time finding Costa on the feet, and Costa's catching him with some wacky shots. Maybe he shoots a bad takedown and gets submitted. I can see it happen. I'm gonna go with Melquiz Costa. I'm gonna say Melquiz Costa wins inside the distance. I actually think he finishes C-Rod here. I don't know. It's just a weird feeling I'm getting from this matchup. But I get weird feelings from C-Rod every single time he fights because I can't get a read on that fucking guy. Moving up to middleweight, Ataba Gautier taking on Jose Medina. I mean, when I talk about, I saw this on Twitter, and I'm going to bring it up. The physicality difference in this fight is so ridiculous. Um, Ataba Gautier is like one of the freakiest looking dudes I've ever seen. And Jose Medina is built like a bag of horchata juice. You feel me? But he is the most durable man I've ever seen in my life. And at elevation, I could see a fucking scenario where an absolute meme takes place. I have to pick Gontier here. I have to. Because Jose Medina does not have any skill. I know that's disrespectful to say, but like when you watch him fight, he like he's just a tough son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like he's insanely durable. His striking's not good, his grappling's not good, but he's gonna be there for 3 rounds almost certainly. Fuck, I'm not picking Jose Medina as plus 400 underdog. I can't. I know we saw what's his face, the knockout wizard. I can't remember his name. Another huge favorite, another physical specimen get absolutely chinned by a jiu-jitsu merchant. Chinned and subbed by a jiu-jitsu merchant and Carlos Vera. But it's not happening again. Ataba Gontier is a fucking monster. He's a fucking freak. Like this guy at middleweight, 6'4", 81-inch reach, and weird wacky power. The only way I see him losing this fight is if he gasses out in the first round and Jose Medina doesn't get finished and he's still there for 2 rounds. Which I hate to say it could happen, but like he lost to Magomed Gadzhiyazulov on the Contender Series. Gadzhiyazulov doesn't have any power in his hands. He's a pretty skilled fighter though, so he lost to Zachary Reese as well. Zachary Reese is pretty like he's pretty dangerous. But he's not outwardly great technically. Um, Split decision over Fernando Fijo and Thunder. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Jose Medina is UFC level. I just think he's a tough guy. I think Ateba Gontier is a physical specimen. With a lot of upside. He's only 22 as well. Could be too much too soon. It's crazy to say. Him fighting at elevation is really sketching me out, honestly. But I'm gonna go with Gontier. I think he's just too dangerous. I think he's too physical. I think he's too dangerous. And Jose Medina really has no skill. That's my problem. I do not like this line. Like I always say, I don't give betting advice. Do not lay this guy at plus or not plus at minus almost 600. Do not put this guy in a parlay, please. I beg you. I think he wins. I do. But 6-1 at elevation against the Homer Simpson punching bag, I feel like you're asking for a meme sometimes when you do shit like that. But I think Ataba Gontier wins this fight. I honestly think he can win inside the distance. I know Jose Medina is insanely durable, but this guy, he's what? I mean, he's from Cameroon, just like Ngannou. He's one of these guys, you just see that freak athleticism and physique specimen build. It's frightening. Moving up to flyweight, Edgar Chairez taking on CJ Vergara. This is probably going to be a pretty sick fight. Now, I have some opinions on this fight. I'm not looking at the line just yet. Okay. Now, theoretically, I am not a CJ Vergara fan. I don't think he's that great. And I'm going to probably be picking Edgar Chairez unless I talk myself out of it live on camera. But I feel like this line might be wide because I think people are a little bit disillusioned by Edgar Chairez, giving Joshua Van hell on short notice over 3 rounds. Um, and people really rate Joshua Van, so I feel like this line might be a little bit crazy. Minus 265. I thought it'd be like minus 300 or something stupid. Minus 265 is a little wide. I think it should be like minus 200. In my opinion. I think CJ Vergara is actually all right because when you look at these guys' resumes, they're kind of similar in the sense that these guys have lost to pretty good fighters and beaten a similar level of fighters or the exact same fighter, right? So when we look at CJ Vergara, Asiel Mabayev lost to a decision. That's all right. Ramazan Temirov, really dangerous guy, and then Tatsuro Taira. You know what I mean? Like these are all guys that are currently ranked. Then he loses to Edgar Chairez, loses to Taira as well. Caught Taira in a pretty good submission, I think near the end of that fight. And then Joshua Van gave Joshua Van hell in this fight. This was an absolute dog fight, but Joshua Van took that fight on short notice. And then Chairez basically he subbed Daniel Lacerda twice. He had him in a sub in this fight. I don't know why. This was a no contest or whatever the fuck. Then we're looking at regional wins. Beat Vinicius Salvador, CJ Vergara did, who's awful, and then beat Daniel Lacerda as well. Daniel Lacerda did have Vergara in an insane amount of trouble, though, where he did not have Chairez in that much trouble. The reason I want to pick Edgar Chairez here is just because he's got that plan B. Like, he's got a well-rounded skill set. He's got nice boxing, decent speed, decent thwack on his punches. You know what I mean? He's got good kicks as well. He's got a good low kick game. But really, where Edgar Chairez shines, in my opinion, is he's got a pretty nasty submission game. Majority of his wins are finishes by submission. I think he's got 7 off the top of my head. He's got nice submissions. And my thing with CJ Vergara is he's a nice, pretty technical boxer. My problem is if something isn't going right for an Edgar Chairez, we can switch up the approach. We can't really find him with the hands. We can start working the low kicks, opening up the shot with the hands. If the striking is not working in general, we can start grappling this fucking guy. Whereas if CJ Vergara's boxing isn't working, like what does he do? You know what I mean? What does he have as a plan B? Nothing really, and that's kind of my problem. Also, Edgar Chairez, I just think has more finishing upside, and he's just fucking meaner in there. You feel me? Like he's just a fucking dog. You saw that in that fight against Joshua Van. When I was breaking down that fight at Sphere, I was really fucking tempted to pick Edgar Chairez. I remember because Joshua Van was taking that fight on short notice after getting chinned by Charles Johnson. I was like, dude, Edgar Chairez is gonna hurt this guy. I can almost guarantee it, and it's gonna be really sketchy, and he did. I still picked Van by decision, but you got to give credence to Chairez. He is a dog in there. He's pretty durable. He's got good power. He's got good submission game. He's well rounded. I think this is his fight to win here. But I do see CJ Vergara being a little bit undervalued on the line. I think plus 210 is a little bit disrespectful because these guys have fought a similar level of comp, performed similarly against a similar level of comp, beaten a similar level of comp. I feel like these lines should be a little bit closer. Not much closer, but a little bit closer. I'm going with Edgar Chairez here. He's just more well-rounded, more ways to win. Yeah, and I trust him more. I trust him more durability-wise as well, especially because CJ Vergara just got flattened. Yeah, I think Edgar Chairez can win here. I think he can win inside the distance. I think he can probably hurt Vergara on the feet, and I think he can probably sub him up. Yeah, that's what I think. I think Edgar Chairez will win by submission. Another flyweight banger, Ronaldo Rodriguez taking on Kevin Borjas. This is a sick fight. This is gonna be a good fight here, for sure. It's gonna be a really close fight, I think, too. I'm actually not super certain who I'm gonna pick here. I think I'm gonna go with Ronaldo Rodriguez, just because momentum is a very important thing. He's fighting in his home country. and he's got a good grappling game, whereas Kevin Borjas really, I think that's somewhere where he's really lacking. But I can see Kevin Borjas absolutely blasting Ronaldo Rodriguez on the feet. Like if Ode Osborne almost chinned him. You know what I mean? Kevin Borjas has good power. He's a dangerous guy. You know what I mean? And his only two losses, I mean, he lost to Joshua Van in his debut, hurt Joshua Van pretty bad in this fight, if I remembered correctly. And then Alessandro Costa, who's pretty good. Like these are good fighters that we're losing to. I think he might be a little bit. I mean, I don't want to say he's undervalued by the line, but I almost feel like this should be even. Because Ronaldo Rodriguez, although I think he's pretty good, he's got that dog style. You know, he crashes in. He's always on you for 3 rounds. I think that's largely what's going to be what wins him this fight here. It's his ability to fall back on his grappling, which is pretty nice. Good submission game, good control as well. But him pushing a pace on Kevin Borjas over 3 rounds, I think Borjas can start out this fight real hot because I think he's more dangerous on the feet, generally speaking. Um, but that pace Ronaldo Rodriguez can put on you, I think, at elevation over 3 rounds, I think he can start to wear on a guy like Kevin Borjas. I think he can mix it up as well and wear out Kevin Borjas that way with the grappling. I think I'm going to lean Ronaldo Rodriguez here. I think he's probably going to win a decision here over Kevin Borjas. Um, but I just can't get this image out of my head. It's just because it's because he got fucking clubbed by Ode Osborne. I can see Kevin Borjas just uncorking a fucking shot on Ronaldo's chin because I don't feel like he has a very good chin. If you're getting dropped by Ode Osborne, I don't feel like your chin's that good. But I think he has a nice style to beat a Kevin Borjas, that heavy pressure style, nice grappling, nice jiu-jitsu to fall back on. And he's just a fucking dog, dude. He fights hard, even when he's hurt. Even when he was hurt against Ode Osborne, he fought out of some of the worst positions possible. I mean, he was in a submission that was locked in for like a minute straight in that Ode Osborne fight and fought his way out of it and ended up pulling the fight out. You know, that's what you want in a guy like this or in a fight like this. So yeah, I'm going to go with Ronaldo Rodriguez. I think he's probably going to win a decision. I'm going to say like a 29-28. I think this fight's going to be pretty close and pretty competitive, as the line would indicate here. I can see Kevin Borjas picking up a round just by being a little bit more dangerous early. But I think he will start to fade as the fight goes on, as if he doesn't finish Ronaldo Rodriguez fights his way into the second and third round, just putting a heavy pace on Kevin Borjas and banking those last 2 rounds. Moving up to bantamweight, David Martinez taking on Simon Oliveira. I'm going with David Martinez. I'm sure this line's insane. Yeah, I mean, minus 400. I think he should be. I think Simon Oliveira's bad. I don't think he's very good. His striking is pretty horrific to watch. And his submission game's okay. I just have not been impressed with him at all. Losing to Tony Gravely, shit look. Daniel Marcos is fine, but like that was over 2 years ago. You know what I mean? And David Martinez is pretty fucking skilled, dude. Like this guy's underrated. I think this guy's well, actually, I don't think he's underrated because he's a fucking huge favorite. But this guy's dangerous, dude. This guy KOs everybody. Had a good performance on the Contender Series against Xavier Franklin. I think this kid's really good on the feet. And I don't think Simon Oliveira is very good on the feet at all. He just kind of he just stands in like his Muay Thai stance and just does nothing. Like he's just AFK, waiting to be battered. And I think if Tony Gravely's dogging you, I think David Martinez is probably just going to finish him. I think David Martinez is going to knock out Simon Oliveira, unless Oliveira just somehow has improved his game drastically, which I don't think he has. He's 33. He hasn't fought in 2 years. I don't see David Martinez losing this fight at all. Like, I'm pretty confident in this one. I think David Martinez chins it. David Martinez is nasty on the feet. Moving up to 135, Raul Rosas Jr. taking on Vince Morales. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, if you could hear that train. I'm going with Raul Rosas Jr., but fuck. Could Vince Morales fraud check him? Because Vince Morales is a fucking dog. But Raul Rosas Jr. has fought a dog before in Ricky Turcios. Ricky Turcios is a guy who is a dog as well. I think Vince Morales is a little bit better than a Ricky Turcios physically. I think he's got better submission skills. Vince Morales has really nice front chokes. He's got a nice Darce anaconda, things like that, and he could catch Raul Rosas Jr. in that. I don't see Vince Morales hurting Raul Rosas on the feet because his head, he's got like the skull of the Elephant Man, and he was cracked by some big shots by Orichi Lang. So I don't really see Vince Morales hurting him on the feet all that much. And I could just see Raul Rosas Jr. controlling Vince Morales in the grappling. Like if Vince Morales goes for a submission and he doesn't get it, I can just kind of see him getting ran over and controlled um, by Raul Rosas. I think Raul Rosas is actually probably the physically more strong of the two, even though he is super young. He's just a bigger guy, honestly. He's got a kind of a bigger frame, even though his reach is shorter. It's just when you look at him, you can kind of see that. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Raul Rosas. I think he can win this fight off of control. Maybe he can latch up a submission. Um, I think Vince Morales is live. You know, he'll fight all 3 rounds hard. He's got good front chokes. He's got good submissions. But I just think Raul Rosas Jr. is better in the pure wrestling than a Vince Morales, and I think he can control him. God, I can't fucking talk today. Can control him and win minutes and bank himself rounds in this fight. I think he probably wins a decision here over Vince Morales. Probably a pretty hard fought decision, but we'll see. Maybe he gets a finish. He could submit Vince Morales for sure. If Vince Morales gives him a good position to do so. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna go with Raul Rosas Jr. I'm gonna say he wins a decision most likely. Um, because Vince Morales is a tough son of a gun. And he's lost to who? Taylor Lapulus and Elijah Smith. Elijah Smith, it was a really close fight. He almost subbed Elijah Smith like 3 times in this fight. And Lapulus is really underrated. So I think could be a pretty competitive one. I think the line's a little bit wide, in my opinion. Moving up to 185, Kelvin Gastelum taking on Joe Pyfer. Guys, I'm going Joe Pyfer. I think Kelvin Gastelum is washed. I think Kelvin Gastelum's washed. I don't like him fighting at 185 at all. Um, Fought D-Rod, kind of looked like shit against D-Rod. Made Daniel Rodriguez fight up at 185. Pretty shit performance from Gastelum. Smoked by Sean Brady, which I guess is fine. Beat Chris Curtis. He shouldn't have beaten Chris Curtis. They gave Kelvin Gastelum a round because he headbutted Chris Curtis into basically unconsciousness. So I don't really rate that. Jared Cannonier battered him. Robert Whitaker battered him. And man, Joe Pyfer is holy shit. He's minus 600 almost. He's just a fucking freak specimen. He's got really good wrestling, good submissions. He's got nasty power. He's fucking huge. And I just think Kelvin's a little bit washed, man. Like Kelvin Gastelum, when's the last time he's gotten a finish? Can I like look? Can I look at this? When's the last time we finished somebody, Kelvin? Holy fuck. He hasn't finished somebody since 2017? Oh, hell nah. Oh, hell nah. Yeah, Kelvin is washed, brothers. Like, his recent performances have been not inspiring. It's just like he doesn't take his career seriously. Like, he's a fat middleweight. He should be at 170. He should be at 170. And I think Joe Pyfer's a guy who's keeping his nose down and working hard at the gym to improve. He's been 5 rounds with a really experienced guy in Jack Hermanson, which I think is good for a guy like Joe Pyfer who's young in his career. Getting a fight like that, losing, understanding like, oh, there's this other level to this game. I need to reach this. Whereas Kelvin Gastelum, I mean, he's been at the top for a while, and now he's fallen down to just like unranked fighters missing weight, making it a catch weight. I just can't rely on Kelvin Gastelum. Like, Kelvin Gastelum has a good chin. The only way he wins this fight, I think, is by being more durable and Joe Pyfer gassing out super badly, which could happen. It is a possibility. But I think more than likely, Joe Pyfer just at least beats on Kelvin Gastelum for 2 rounds. Because Kelvin Gastelum looked slow as hell against fucking D-Rod. He looked bad against D-Rod. And the shots D-Rod was landing on Gastelum, if fucking Joe Pyfer lands those on you, at best, you're getting dropped on your ass. I'm just being real. At best, you're getting dropped on your ass. Like, Joe Pyfer's a guy who looks like he's probably about fucking 215 on fight day. Yeah, everybody's picking Pyfer. I am too. I like Kelvin. I like his style, but I have not been impressed with him lately. And Joe Pyfer, he just flatlined Marc-Andre Barriault brutally. Um, I'm gonna go with Joe Pyfer. I just think he's Younger guy, more motivated, works harder in the gym right now, takes his career a little bit more seriously because he hasn't really been at the top like Kelvin Gastelum. You know, Kelvin Gastelum's like Icarus. He was too close to the sun and now he's falling. You feel me? I'm going Joe Pyfer. I don't know if he wins by finish, but I think he can win a decision. I think he can get 2 rounds. I don't think Joe Pyfer gasses out completely in 1 round. I think he can win 2 at least. Oh, fuck me. Moving up to the co-main event, Manuel Torres taking on Drew Dober. Now, I said earlier on the card, there's 2 fights where I can't get a fucking read. This is the second one. This is the second one. Holy shit. Talk about good matchmaking here. Yeah, I mean, they're evens, basically. Oh, this fight is sick. Like when you saw the tweet pop up that these guys got matched up, if you know ball, you were like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be fucking wacky." I think, fellas. Oh my god, I think I'm gonna go with. More people are on Dober. I kind of agree. That's what's fucked up. I kind of agree. I kind of think Drew Dober wins this, man. Because when we look at Manuel Torres, this guy is largely, and by largely I mean completely, a 1 round fighter. Like, when is the last time he's been out of the first round? Has he ever been? No, is the answer. This guy wins in round 1, or he loses in round 1. That is Manuel Torres in a nutshell. He is wildly dangerous. One of the most dangerous guys in the division. He's just like I want to say he has a good submission game, but he really doesn't. He just muscle fucks people. Like against Chris Duncan, no technique in his takedown or his rear naked choke. He just muscle fucked him and strangled him. It was a really impressive win, considering Chris Duncan's gotten some good wins back to back now. You know, put a absolutely horrific elbow on Nicholas Mata. One of the most brutal fucking knockouts I've ever seen. Brutalized Frank Camacho, but Frank Camacho is fucking old. And then on the Contender Series, had a good win over Colton England. Like this, he's fucking dangerous, dude. But you saw in the Ignacio Bahamondes fight, he's a bit stupid. He's a bit stupid. He rushed in. Ignacio Bahamondes caught him with a beautiful pullback counter, dropped him, and Manuel Torres simply just ran back at him and got caught with the exact same punch again and got finished. So he's a little bit dumb. And my problem with Manuel Torres in this fight is, if you're picking him to win, which I think he can do, he's wildly fucking dangerous. You're picking him to win in the first round, I feel like. You have to be picking him, because this is at elevation too. This is at 7,000 feet of elevation. And you're picking a guy whose only wins are in the first round against the fucking Crimson Chin. You know what I'm saying? Like Drew Dober, he's definitely taken a downward step in his career. He's looking a little bit closer to washed, but does he get nuked in under 5 minutes? Because if he doesn't get flatlined in under 5 minutes or strangled in under 5 minutes, I just don't see Manuel Torres having the endurance or the dog for the last 2 rounds like a Drew Dober is going to. Like in hindsight, going to war with John Silva, not so bad. It was a doctor stoppage. Drew Dober was still in that shit, throwing heat back, but he was just outgunned. Lighter man skill. John Silva was cooking. Lost to Moicano, dropped Moicano bad, but was out grappled. Maybe that's how a Manuel Torres can have success. Maybe he can out grapple a Drew Dober. I don't think he's as technical as a guy like Moicano on the mat at all, but he is just strong as hell. And that could maybe be a path to victory for him. Beat Ricky Glenn. Ricky Glenn's a bum. Good knockout, I guess. Lost to Matt Frivola. He got KO'd by Matt Frivola. Granted, he didn't get flatlined, but he did get KO'd by Matt Frivola. This is what's kind of a problem for me, because I could see Manuel Torres getting it done in the first round, but I hate this. I hate picking this fight. I love this fight. Drew Dober also does train in elevation. He trains at Colorado, not quite 7,000 feet up, but Manuel Torres trains at a Tijuana, which is like sea level. So you got a guy who trains at sea level, who's a first round exclusive fighter, fighting a guy who trains at elevation, and he's fighting him at elevation, who is known for his insane durability. Oh, it's just like logic is pointing me towards Drew Dober. I know he's 36. I know he's a little washed, but I just don't think he gets nuked in one round, dude. He could get nuked. I can't fucking make my mind up. I'm gonna go with Drew Dober. I'm gonna go with my initial thought here. I just I feel like Drew Dober can last 5 minutes, and if he lasts 5 minutes, I don't know what I don't know what Manuel Torres has after 5 minutes. I have no idea. I don't know. I can't pick him based on an unknown. Maybe he gets the fight done in the first round. He has the physical intangibles to do it. Um, but that's easier said than done. So I'm going to go with Drew Dober. I think he can probably. I think Drew Dober can get a TKO here because I have a suspicion if this gets into the second round at elevation, I think Manuel Torres is going to look like a fucking punching bag. But we'll see. This fight's going to deliver though. This fight's going to be sick for however long it goes. I'm closing out the card with our main event. Brandon Moreno taking on Steve Erceg. Guys, I'm going with Brandon Moreno. I don't even need to think about it. No questions asked. I think Steve Erceg's overrated. In my opinion. Um, I've had a good read on Steve Erceg in his UFC career. I think I've only ever picked one Steve Erceg fight wrong. I think that was his debut because I believe he debuted against David Dvorak, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and I wasn't sure about how he would look against David Dvorak because at the time Dvorak was ranked, and he got that one. And ever since then, I picked every single fight he's had correctly. So I've got a pretty good read on Steve Erceg as far as his skill level goes. I think a lot of people were disillusioned by his performance against Pantoja. But and I said this when I broke down his fight against Kai Car France. I think I said this. He's got a good style into a guy like Pantoja. Because Steve Erceg's a guy, he's got nice technical, pretty boxing. He's more technical on the feet than a Pantoja, so he can land his shots better. And he's got a good jiu-jitsu base. He's a grappler first, Steve Erceg. A lot of people thought he was this boxing god because he knocked out Matt Schnell. But largely, he's a grappler. He's got a really good jiu-jitsu game. He's got good scrambles. He's got good reversals. So against Pantoja, he can give him problems in that way. Because he's more technical, and he can keep himself safe from submissions, and he can nullify some of the takedown threat and reverse certain positions on Pantoja. That's why that fight was so close, because I think he's got a really good style for Pantoja. When breaking down the Kai Car France fight, when Steve Erceg was minus 350 and I picked Kai Car France to knock him out, I said this is not a good style for Steve Erceg. Because Steve Erceg, grappler at his absolute base. He's not taking Kai Car France down at all. It's not going to happen. I don't think he's submitting Kai Car France because he's not taking him down. And on the feet, Kai Car France isn't like a Pantoja. He's much more technical. He's much faster on the feet. And he's got real legitimate power at flyweight. And he flatlined Steve Erceg as like a plus 250 underdog. So I've got a pretty good read on Erceg, I think. Moreno, on the other hand, I've had an iffy read lately. Like, I thought he would beat Brandon Royval, even though Royval's my favorite flyweight. I thought he would beat him because Royval took it on short notice. But Moreno looked really, really bad in this performance. No disrespect to Royval's performance. Moreno just looked off. So in his next fight against Albazi, I picked Albazi because I'm like, it looked like Moreno's checked out mentally. Like, he did not look like the same fighter who fought for the belt all those times. He looked a little bit off. But Brandon Moreno looked incredible in this fight. He looked like the Brandon Moreno of old. He was locked the fuck in. His striking looked perfect. His wrestling defense was perfect. He looked great in this fight. So if this is the guy that's showing up to fight Steve Erceg, I don't see him losing. I think Steve Erceg has a better stylistic matchup against a Brandon Moreno than he does against a Kai Car France. Because Brandon Moreno, he's got decent power, but Kai Car France is a guy, if he lands clean on you, he can really do some damage. And Kai Car France has really great grappling defense. You know, like Askar Askarov wasn't able to take down Kai Car France at all. You know what I mean? That's really impressive at flyweight. But I think Brandon Moreno, his just level of competition faced is so high. He's been in so many high-profile 5-round fights. And I just think he's better than Steve Erceg. I think Steve Erceg's got nice boxing and a nice submission game. But I think you need more than nice boxing to beat Brandon Moreno. I just really do. Brandon Moreno's got really nice kicks. Finished Kai Car France with a really nice body kick. And I also think Moreno's just more durable than a Steve Erceg. You know, the only time we've really seen Steve Erceg hurt in the UFC was against Kai Kara France, so you really don't know. But he just looks like a guy who's not very durable. And I've seen Moreno eat shots that would put out Steve Erceg, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I just think Moreno's a little bit faster on the feet too. I think he's got better kicks. I just think he's a little bit better in the striking. And I don't think Steve Erceg's really going to get too much going grappling wise as a plan B because Brandon Moreno's pretty solid there. I got to go with Brandon Moreno, dude. And there's something to be said for a little bit of momentum. And Brandon Moreno is coming off of, honestly, one of his best performances against Amir Albazi. It was an absolute shutout against a pretty solid fighter. So, yeah. Oh, who are people? Wow, nobody's picking Erceg. Okay. Yeah, I'm going with Brandon Moreno. I just think he's better. Um, Fought better comp. I think he's got a good style to beat Steve Erceg over 5 rounds, especially. Um, yeah, I think Brandon Moreno wins this fight. I think he wins the decision. I'm going to say he wins probably like a 48-47. I could see Steve Erceg making it close because largely I think this is going to be a stand-up contest. And I do think Steve Erceg has good boxing, good enough boxing to make these rounds very close and maybe bank a couple, have some moments of his own. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Brandon Moreno. I think the line is correct as well. I think Brandon Moreno should be like a minus like 190. Yeah, I think he wins this fight by decision pretty clearly. Um, but we'll see. Maybe Steve Erceg uncorks a beautiful fucking shot and flatlines Brandon Moreno or something. Maybe he gets him down and submits him. Who fucking knows, dude? I'm excited though. I think this is going to be a banger matchup. Anytime the flyweights are main events, you know it's always going to be a sick fight every single time. That's why flyweights like one of my probably like top 2 or top 3 divisions in the UFC. Whenever they're main eventing, it's always a banger, like every single time. So I'm looking forward to this card a lot. But yeah, that's it for this card, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it a ton as always. And I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.